Fearscape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
Hi, listeners. Listen to the Books and Boost podcast with me, host Anna Timberly, and Marlena Lear, as we crack open a bottle or two, or three, and dive into some interesting books. Airing the first Wednesday of every month. Bye.
Welcome to Wishful Drinking and Binge Thinking. This is Moira O'Houlihan, and I am your host. This week, a lovely man at the grocery store gave me samples of several different kinds of whiskey. And I chose my favorite, and that is what I am drinking tonight. And God, is it awful. Honestly, I should not have made a decision based on a tiny little bit of liquid in a cup, but that's what I did. Tonight, I am drinking Proper 12, an Irish whiskey. And that is, I'm afraid I might, just leave right now and throw it up. No, it's not that bad. It's not the best, but it's not terrible. So I shall continue to drink it until it is gone. So I have a very special 3-part episode coming up for all of you lovely folks. One of my favorite parts of psychology is delving into the personality disorders. Personality disorders are super fun to talk about. Not super fun when you're interacting with someone who has one, but super fun to learn about. And that's why you're listening, right? To learn about these things. So, I am going to have a very special 3-part episode in which I cover Cluster A, Cluster B, and Cluster C of all of the different personality disorders that are in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that all psychologists treat as a Bible. Yeah. So, here's the thing about personality disorders. There's not really much you can do to fix them because, as their name suggests, they have to do with your personality. And while other mental disorders are like a chemical imbalance or like problems with the actual structure of your brain and whatnot, the thing with personality disorders is you just developed that way. Like, there's nothing we can do to change the way you have developed. And also, it's your personality, the core of who you are as a human being. And, do you really want to change who you are as a person? The thing with treating personality disorders is that most people with personality disorders don't want to be treated because they don't think that they have a problem. That's who they are, and they like it. And, part of the diagnostic criteria of a personality disorder is that it causes you some kind of issues in your day-to-day life or whatever. But despite all the issues it may cause, most people that have one of these personality disorders are like, well, yeah, it fucks up my life, but I still like who I am. So they're a lot less willing to change than, say, someone who has bipolar disorder and is like, yeah, I'm imbalanced. Balance me out, man. Help. I need help. These people with personality disorders are just not really lining up at the door for help because they don't want to change who they are as a person, which is understandable. I mean, if you are who you are. I mean, shit, I wouldn't want to change who I am just because somebody told me it was in a book and that I shouldn't be that way. Fuck that. That's what makes personality disorders so interesting. Is it a problem? Is it not a problem? I mean, part of the diagnostic criteria is that it's causing you some sort of problem. But also, is it a problem for you to be who you are? I don't know. It's a discussion. So, the cluster A personality disorders are paranoid personality disorder, schizoid personality disorder, and then schizotypal personality disorder. And those probably sound a lot worse than they are. Honestly, this cluster A is not so bad. We'll talk about the other clusters, and then you can decide which ones are the crazy, dangerous, awful ones. But let's just jump into cluster A, because we like these guys. They're just tinfoil hat wearing weirdos, and we're okay with that. So you've got paranoid personality disorder. That's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. So the diagnostic criteria for that is two big ones, but they're kind of broken down into little things. So the first one is a pervasive distrust and suspiciousness of others, that their motives are interpreted as malevolent, and it begins in early adulthood, and it's indicated by 4 or more of the following: suspects without sufficient basis that others are exploiting, harming, or deceiving that person. And let's face it, everyone kind of, experiences that a little bit. Don't you feel like someone out there is exploiting you in some way? I mean, in a large scale sort of way, sure. They could also be preoccupied with doubts about the loyalty or trustworthiness of friends and associates, so always mistrusting other people. They're reluctant to confide in others because they fear that the information will be used maliciously against them. They read hidden, demeaning, or threatening meanings into benign remarks or events or things like that. They persistently bear grudges. They perceive attacks on their character or reputation that other people don't seem to pick up on, and they're very quick to react angrily or to counterattack. Or they have recurrent suspicions without any justification regarding fidelity of sexual partners. So out of those 7 things, you have to have at least 4 of those to be at least halfway on the way to having paranoid personality disorder. And then they also have to absolutely, they have to not be diagnosed with schizophrenia, bipolar, or depressive disorder, or any sort of other disorder with psychotic features. Or they can't be feeling those effects because of a medication they're on or anything else. So these have to be totally created by the person and not part of another mental health disorder or a side effect of a medication. So basically, paranoid personality disorder is exactly what it sounds like. You are paranoid about even the closest people to you. You're worried that people will use things against you. You're one of those tinfoil hat wearing people who think that the world is out to get them. And that's personality disorders for you. It's just, sometimes it's just weird. Oh, now we have one of my favorites, Schizoid personality disorder, which I very much enjoy because these guys are just lovely little hermits enjoying their lives, not taking any shit from anyone, and just living out that idealistic in the woods lifestyle Unabomber without the anger. So, let's see. Again, they cannot experience any of the following as part of a different mental health disorder. But schizoid personality disorder is made up of 4 or more of the following things. They don't desire or enjoy any close relationships. They don't care about family, friends, anything like that. They almost always choose solitary activities when given the choice. They have little, if any, interest in having sexual encounters with anyone else. They don't really take pleasure in very many activities or hobbies. They don't have a lot of close friends or confidants other than very close relatives. They're very indifferent to praise or criticism from other people. Emotionally, they show a lot of coldness, detachment, aloofness, just flattened affect, not super emotional, very logical, and just muted, kind of. Very muted. It's just a pervasive pattern of detachment from social relationships and not a very large range in emotions in settings where, in social settings where you should show emotion. So those are our schizoid people. Even though the name sounds a little bit like schizophrenia, it has nothing to do with it. So our schizoid people they're the hermits that live out in the woods. They don't really give a shit about society or anyone else. They just do their own thing and they have fun with it. Like just doing whatever makes them happy. And damn it, sometimes I kind of wish I was schizoid so I could like leave all this junk behind and just hang out on my own, doing my own thing. But you can't wish yourself into a personality disorder. If only. Am I right? A glass of proper 12 that I'm drinking? Oh god, that's not very good. Ugh. Okay. Alright, so the next one is schizotypal personality disorder. Wouldn't it be weird if I did the whole thing like this? Nah, it would sound like a weird female Chris O'Dowd. Nobody wants that. Or maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe I should create a poll. I'm not terrible at accents. Okay, so schizotypal personality disorder. Once again, this cannot be a result of any other psychiatric disorder. So the diagnostic criteria for this one is a pervasive pattern of social and interpersonal deficits marked by an acute discomfort with and reduced capacity for close relationships, as well as by cognitive or perceptual distortions and eccentricities of behavior, beginning in early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, blah, 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 blah. What that means is that these bitches are as close to schizophrenia as you can get without actually having schizophrenia. So they got some... Alright. They have to have 5 or more of the following. And there are 9 of these things. So 5 out of 9 of these things they have to hit. Ideas of reference. Which basically means that, like, random, irrelevant things that happen in the world are related to you. So, you know, anything random that happens in the world. If the lotteries come out 777, whatever, and your birthday is on the 7th, a schizotypal person will believe that that somehow has to do with them. So just bringing everything back to yourself when it has absolutely no correlation to you at all. They also have to have odd beliefs or magical thinking that influence their behavior. This is what I'm talking about with the tinfoil wearing. Examples of that could just be superstitions. Jesus fucking Christ, this whiskey. Superstitiousness. Belief in clairvoyance or telepathy. Or that a sixth sense exists. Just bizarre fantasies or preoccupations and things like that. Also, unusual perceptual experience, including bodily illusions. So, feeling like anything is going on with your body, prickles, tingles, whatever, just that somatic type thing. Or even feeling like having out-of-body experiences. Any of that falls under that category. Suspiciousness or paranoid ideation. Inappropriate or constricted affect. Affect, by the way, is just another way of saying like your mood or I don't know, just your homeostasis, your levelness. If you have an inappropriate affect, it means you're not reacting to situations appropriately. Like a flattened affect is one of those people that just seems like they're not emotive at all. No emotions, that sort of thing. So, a weird affect could, be any of those things, but it's one of the diagnostic things for this. Behavior or appearance that is odd, eccentric, or peculiar. What a fucking vague thing to fall into DSM. I think a lot of people can be considered eccentric, but then again, that's one thing, and you have to have 5 of these things to be considered a schizotypal person. Let's see. Lack of close friends or confidants other than first-degree relatives. So, again, sort of like that schizoid personality disorder. You just don't really connect to a lot of people. You feel like there's no reason to connect with anyone. And also a lot of social anxiety that does not go away with familiarity. What the fuck is wrong with my mouth? Oh, God. Familiarity. And it tends to be associated with paranoid fears rather than negative judgments about yourself. So, all of that social anxiety and not wanting to be around other people has nothing to do with you feeling bad about yourself. It has to do with you distrusting other people. So that's kind of the key thing. A lot of these personality disorders are things that a lot of people experience, but the intention behind them is different, and that's kind of what makes them part of these disorders. So those are the 3 cluster A personality disorders. And they kind of fit together in that they're all semi-paranoid. They don't really like other people. You know what? If we leave them alone to do their own thing, they'll be just fine. Nothing wrong with someone wandering around in the woods in a tinfoil hat. That's their choice. It's their personality. You do you, you know? So that's kind of where we're at with that. The reason that makes it a cluster A, they kind of cluster these personality disorders together based on things that not set them apart from the others, that make them similar to each other. And that's the underlying just lack of attachment to other people. Yeah, we all feel this way sometimes. We just rather be alone, not have to deal with other people. But it's not that we don't want to deal with other people. It's that we genuinely don't get social connections. That's what cluster A is. It's social connections are not important to you, or they are threatening to you. You think they're out to get you. You don't want them to be any part of your life. So, best avoided at all costs. So, what do you do about these personality disorders if you have them? That's hard to say. You can work through a lot of that shit in therapy, just symptom-wise, but, I mean, you can't change someone's personality. It's who they are. And that's why it's so difficult to work with anyone who has any sort of personality disorder, because half the time they're happy with it. They don't want to change who they are, so why should they come to you for help in fixing it? And the other half of the time, even if it's causing them problems, like, how do you teach someone to change their entire being? It's so hard. So, like, most people don't want help, and if they do want help, it's really hard to fix it because that's just who they are. That's a personality disorder. They're fun to learn about, but shit, they're not fun to try to fix. If you want to fix them, most people don't. It's a challenge. Anyway, overall, as a psychologist, how do I feel about the cluster A personality disorders? Oh man, I would so much rather have a cluster A person than anyone else, because cluster B are the fucking assholes and cluster C are the whiny bitches. So, if you got a cluster A personality disorder for me, shit, yeah, I'll talk to you all day about how you don't need that tinfoil hat and how the government is not. Well, shit, the government actually is listening to everything. But they probably don't care about your shit because you're not a terrorist or anything like that. And if you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about. But don't worry. Everyone's in the same boat as you, man. So, personality disorders are weird. But they're so much fun to learn about and talk about. Like, I had an abnormal psychology course, and I had a teacher who would show us clips from different things to teach us about the personality disorders. And I'll get more into that probably with the assholes in Cluster B. But Cluster A is really not that bad. You've got your straight up weirdos, you've got your hermit in the woods, and you've got your paranoid tinfoil guys. Overall, not too harmful to society as a whole or individuals in any way. I mean, let's cut out that stigma right now, because most people that have any sort of mental health issue are more likely to be the victim of a crime than the perpetrator. So let's throw that out the window right now as a belief and focus on, hey, everybody's a little bit different, and maybe that's a good thing because, you know, we need a little variation in the world, and these cluster A bitches ain't hurting anybody. They're fun. They do their own thing. They stay in their own lane. And that's the cool thing about cluster A. They most of the time don't bother you because they don't really want to be bothered. And that's A-okay with me. So, yeah, it's interesting learning about personality disorders and seeing where that fine line is. Because we all know people that kind of halfway could fit these criteria. We all know that one person who's a conspiracy theorist, but do they actually meet the other criteria for paranoid personality disorder? Or do we just want them to? Oh, I know a guy who's all about conspiracy theories, but he looks for evidence. Doesn't believe anyone is personally harming him. He doesn't read hidden or threatening things in the things people do to him. He's just a normal guy who happens to believe these conspiracy theories. So he does not fit paranoid personality disorder. So you gotta meet certain criteria to have these. But if this sounds like anyone you know, shit, I don't know. If they're doing just fine, leave them alone. Don't do anything about it. But if it sounds like someone you know who's having a really hard time trying to get by with these beliefs, maybe they should talk to someone and try to help with that. But again, most people with personality disorders don't really want to be fixed. And that's the crux of the problem. I just wanted to say crux. Crux. Crux, crux, crux. Okay, so thus ends the discussion for cluster A personality disorders. I will meet you back here in probably a week to discuss cluster B. The fucking assholes. Oh, this will be a fun one to do. I look forward to it. And, oh God, I do not look forward to drinking more of this Irish whiskey, but I've got to finish the bottle now that I brought it. Oh shit, no, that's Canadian. Maybe I'm not as good as accents as I think. Maybe I'm only good when I'm slightly less drunk, because over the course of this recording, I have had at least another half to one full drink. Okay, I am done for the day. I am going to drink some water because I am a responsible human. And I will see you all later. Catch you on the flip-flop. Fearscape Media Network and all that. And hell yeah, I'll see you next time. Peace out!